Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Thank you so much for returning for another episode. We are on Lawfolds, and this is episode number 23. So I just wanted to start us off down here. We're going to teleport a couple of times, but I just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed because obviously I did a lot of stuff off camera just to kind of prep and get things going. So where we left off with episode 22, we had belled our square bells, making silage bells, and so I was sort of in the process of bringing all that stuff up here and getting that stuff stacked up and put away quite nicely. So there are our bars of soap, our silage bells. We did have to buy a little bit of straw, but we're going to fix that today with a wheat harvest that I've already started. And so we'll go down and do that. And then there's our hay, and then we've got a few bales of grass just over there. So we do have to remember that we can't feed grass to our cows in the winter months. So this is the last day, the last game day of summer. And of course, this is a brand new game day. So, and then I went ahead and we purchased our mixing wagon. We purchased an extra water tanker for this farm. And I've brought the Manitou telehandler up here since we've got to handle more bales and everything on our dairy than what we need to do on our sheep farm. It's best served to be up here. Now you may also notice that our money is quite lower than it was at the end of episode 2. That is because we purchased 50 head of dairy cows, and so they're all happy and fed, and everything up here is good to go for now. We may need to take a look at our needs later today, but not in this episode. So I will, let's see, where do I want to go next? Here is a tractor that obviously is stuck, and so but it's also done. Its work is done, so that's fine. But I wanted to point out to you something that, and let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that HUD. Actually, let me bring that HUD back up and do that, and then fold and all that good stuff. But let me show you the odd thing about this field. Now, we harvested this field in, I don't know, a couple of episodes ago, and this was, I believe, barley, and we harvested this field, and I have now plowed this field with coarse play, and I will just show you that even though it's been plowed, and let me just go over here and shut this thing off and jump out, you can see that we've got the plowed texture. If I bring up the menu here just to go over here and show our status here, soil composition, you can see that it's recognized as being plowed, and it's also recognized as having been fertilized because of the chopped straw that was on top. But if we run over here really quick, so this is this field that's been plowed. And then here is this field that we plowed the other day, several episodes ago, and this is probably before, this may even be before the 1.4 patch, so this might have been when our game was still 1.3. whatever. And then here is 1.4 with 1.4.2. So I don't know if this is something to do with still some bugs or whatever with 1.4.2. Now keep in mind that there is an update that's available for this map. I have yet to apply it just because I guess I'm just a little bit nervous after having pretty much my Colborough Park farm is pretty much unplayable at this particular point in time. I don't really want to run the risk of ruining this map. The update to Lawfolds came out before 1.4, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is part of the problem or not, but I'll further investigate that just a little bit, and of course we can I'll make a determination as to what we might need to do regarding whether we need to take the update and then maybe replow and see what's going on. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I don't know. So we are harvesting this wheat field. This wheat field is ready to go, but also we need straw. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and harvest this wheat field, because obviously we need straw. I don't want to be buying it if we don't have to. I didn't mind buying the few bales that I think we bought. I bought 16 bales from the store, and certainly didn't mind doing that because that allowed me to get cows going in yesterday's game day, in the previous game day, so that their milk productivity and everything is as high as possible, and they can, you know, begin earning us money immediately instead of, you know, waiting until today to harvest this field and then buying the cows. We would miss, you know, about, I don't know, 12 hours, 18 hours of productivity. And so didn't want to do that if it could be avoided. So that's kind of why we did it that way. I could probably use some extra space between the fence and the edge of the field there. Could probably do another row there, but we'll see how it goes. But hope you all are having a wonderful week. Hope you don't mind the scaled back amount of videos. My apologies for that, but as I had indicated before, I do have a couple of projects at work, that one of which is going to require me to travel. I'm going to have to go out to the Bay Area again. I was out there a few weeks ago, but going to have to go out again, and then some other projects. So I'm sort of expecting my work hours to be a little bit more, probably getting into the office around my regular time, between 6 and 6:30, and then probably not getting home until at least 6:37 at night. And so that just causes everything to run a little bit behind on my end. You know, it doesn't leave as much time to spend time with my wife and everything. And so we're just gonna drive the harvester over to the tipper. It's just as easy to do that. Have to move the harvester anyway, since the pipe was on the wrong side. But yeah, I hope you all are having I guess the tipper is full. Alright, and we're off again. What I'll do is I'll go down to the end and turn around, and then come back, and then probably go and empty the tipper. But yeah, this is today is Sunday. It's the 19th of January, and this is a 3-day weekend for my wife and I. And so it's still 9 o'clock in the morning, and I think we're going to head out probably after lunch and go. We have a state park that is very close to our house, and if you're just wondering, and I don't mind sharing this information with you. I'm not going to give you my exact address because, well, if I do that, Doug Zorley is liable to show up and try to mow my yard, although he could certainly do that, but he would want to use the Krone Big M, and my yard is not that big. He could probably drive the front of the Big M into my front yard, lower the mower decks, and just let them turn a couple of times, and my yard would be cut. But anyway, if you look on a map of Denver, and I'll give you just a moment to do that. Okay, so if you see where I-25 meets I-225, and that's kind of in the southeast portion of the greater Denver area, you will also see, just sort of east of that interchange, you you will see a large lake, or well, it's not really a large lake at all, especially not compared to, say, lakes in Texas or lakes in other portions of the country or the world. But anyway, it's a man-made reservoir that they built there. Corps of Engineers built there. And so anyway, it is called Cherry Creek State Park, Cherry Creek Lake. And I live just about a couple of miles from that lake. All right, so we'll go and empty our wheat, because otherwise we're not going to have enough room to empty our thing again, our tractor again. Or our combine is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, we live close to that reservoir, and that reservoir has, it's quite large state park, and we have all sorts of. My wife enjoys photography, and so there's all sorts of wildlife. There's deer. There's various types of birds of prey. There are just a number of, wildlife type animals that live there. And as a matter of fact, even we sometimes get them into our area where we live. As I said, we live just a couple of miles from that state park, and oddly enough, there's been a number of times over the, I don't know, we've lived here for about 12 years or so in this house, and we've had a number of times where we've had deer in our backyard. And of course you might wonder, well, how can a deer, get from the mountains into the city? Well, if you kind of look south of that state park I was telling you about, south of the lake, you can kind of see that, it's kind of wide open space all the way down towards, say, Parker and Castle Rock, and those are all quite, they're growing. The areas are growing. There's a lot of commercial, stuff going in, but it's still, there's like floodplains and stuff that people can't build on. And I have a feeling that the animals are, are migrating sort of up that way. So there's even been rumors, and of course I've not seen any, but there have been rumors that even some large cats have been spotted over in the reservoir area in the state park. And so again, if you look sort of at the map, we're not very far from that at all, where my wife and I live. And so yeah, so I'm not talking about small kitty cats. I'm talking about like mountain lion type cats. And of course Colorado has those in our beautiful state. There's certainly, up in the mountains, we have large cats, mountain lions, and I'm guessing like maybe bobcats and stuff like that as well. But now in areas like sort of in the west portion of the Denver metro area, or even in the northwest, so for example like say Boulder, which is in the northwest of metro Denver, Golden, those communities like that, they even get and see the occasional black bear that will stumble down from the foothills into those communities. Now, I don't think that, at least I have never heard of anyone spotting any black bears over this far east, but again, that sort of that floodplain area, Cherry Creek Reservoir, is named for Cherry Creek, which runs through the Denver metro area and runs south towards Castle Rock and Parker, and I guess even further south than that, I'm not sure, but that is all sort of a floodplain area. And so it's not too hard too big of a stretch of the imagination to realize that, you know, probably these animals can move out of the mountain areas, especially if they're threatened by, you know, shortage of food, or, you know, we do occasionally have, unfortunately, we occasionally have wildfires here. There have been a number of wildfires that have actually made, you know, major news in before. I'm going to go ahead and cut another headland here because it is just a little bit tight between the fence and the edge of the field there, and I want to try to get as much crop as possible and not ruin anything, because as you can see, our cash on hand, $23,722. The good news is we actually have zero debt, zero bank debt, so everything is all bought and paid for, and so we're doing well from that perspective. I did sell a couple of loads of barley yesterday just to make sure that we had enough of cash on hand after we made the dairy cow purchase, and purchased a few other pieces of equipment that I've already showed you, like the mixing wagon and the extra water tanker. And so I think we're okay. I mean, there's some other pieces of coon equipment that I have my eye on that I want to obviously get, because, you know, just like you, I enjoy playing with you know, with new pieces of kit, and I want to showcase that for you all, so because some of you obviously don't own the Coon DLC yet. So but I think that we can, you know, we can wait for now on that, at least not this game day anyways, have to worry about it. And I don't have an issue taking out a bank loan, because we still have quite a few fields that we have yet to harvest. We've got a couple of wheat fields. I believe we've got either soybeans and sunflowers maybe, and I know that we have either a potato or sugar beet field. So we probably have enough fruit that we have yet to harvest, that we will obviously harvest, that we can keep our money up and possibly earn enough to, you know, pay the bank loans off. But I do want to, I think I want to pick up that sprayer and possibly take a look at the that Coon cultivator seeder kind of combination outfit. I was quite impressed with that on Eustace Pharmer's video that he did, and released that on Valentine's Day. So I've mentioned that a couple of times, and I'll just say it again. If you have the Coon DLC, and if you don't know how some of the pieces fit together, have a look at Eustace Pharmer's video that he did, and he released that on the 14th of January, and on Valentine's Day, and he kind of shows you everything that you need to know, but maybe was afraid to ask in that video. It goes over all the ways that the pieces fit together, and of course I'll talk about that whenever we get to that point in time, but he did such a fantastic review of all the pieces of the Coon DLC that there's no need in reinventing the wheel and trying to duplicate that effort. I would just rather you go and watch his video, since he did all the heavy lifting on that, and then I will obviously, you know, talk about it and mention it when we get to that point. But I'm not gonna release a special episode with the idea of, you know, teaching you all that stuff in one kind of episode. I'll let you just go watch his channel, because hey, it's that good. He does great stuff. And the other thing that, you know, it's so dry here. We haven't had any significant measurable precipitation of any form in probably 3 weeks or so, and it's actually been, our daytime highs have been in the mid 60s. Oops, I should have let that empty, have been in the mid 60s for the last maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. And so I've got a honeydew list that I've got to start working off some of the items on later today, and I'm probably going to have to drag a water hose out of the garage and go around and spray some water on some of our new trees that we planted last year, and some of the other evergreen type shrubs, because don't want to lose anything. But it's just, I was talking to somebody yesterday at the grocery store, kind of a friend of mine that I know, and I was saying, you know, it's hard not to think that here we are 18th, 19th of February, and it's, you know, like 65 degrees, and it's hard to you know, to realize and to, I guess, to accept the fact that, you know, we will have more cold weather. We will probably have snow. You know, this time of the year, February, March, early to mid-April, are our, you know, snowiest times of the year. And back in, I think it was, I think it was like 2002 or 2003. We had a massive snowstorm, massive blizzard that started on St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of March, and we got like 3.5 feet of snow in the course of about 36 hours, and it was just, it was crazy. I mean, there was snow everywhere. And of course, you know, it's a run on food at the grocery store. It's kind of like if you live in the areas where you have the occasional like hurricane or, you know, something like that, a tropical storm, and when, you know, the news, the weather forecast starts talking about that stuff, and then all of a sudden, you know, people do a run on the stores and everything. That's kind of the way that it is here. You know, usually these types of really big storms, anything that's capable of producing, or, you know, capable of producing like 2 feet, 3 feet of snow or whatever, the weather forecasters know about that. You know, they're able to sort of predict it a few days in advance, and so obviously that will be, you know, headline news on all the local weather stations, and people will go out and start buying up, you know, milk and eggs and bread and stuff like that. And it's, you know, after that big blizzard in 2003, it was probably, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 days even after the blizzard had come through that the grocery stores had, you know, like acceptable inventory levels of things like milk and bread and eggs, and, you know, I mean, it just, those types of weather systems, the 2 to 3 type of feet of snow really do sort of shut everything down. It shuts all of the, you know, transportation and distribution of all those types of items, and it's just kind of slow. It's slow to get that stuff back into the system and back into the stores and whatnot. But hey, I realize you don't tune into my channel to hear about the weather trends in Denver, Colorado. You've got your own weather trends to worry about. So again, this is the last game day of the summer season, and just as a reminder, we are playing 3 game days per season. So summer ends today, and then fall starts the next game day tomorrow. So it's kind of, the seasons are kind of like March, April, May is spring, June, July, August is summer, September, October, November is fall, and then winter is December, January, and February. And so really, if I look at my sort of my cheat sheet that I can't necessarily show you because the developers of the Seasons mod says it's still kind of a work in progress, as well as the entire Seasons mod is. But we are going to have the opportunity to plant a little winter crop action September and October. So the next game day, first day of first day of fall, or first game day of fall, and second game day of fall, we should be okay to plant a little winter wheat or a little winter barley, or maybe one of each. You know, that way we have a little bit of, well, it does two things for us. One, it gives us something to do a little bit earlier in the year, in the season, and also it gives us a jump on straw. So if we are running a bit low on straw for our animals, then obviously we have access to that. And then also the other thing is it gives us a jump financially on you know, harvestable crops, so that, you know, if we're running a bit low on money, because obviously in the wintertime our wool production is going to stop. Dairy production will remain stable, so we'll have milk coming in. We won't have wool to sell. We'll have whatever crops, you know, we decide to hang on to, if we want to hang on to some of that in anticipation of a great demand or something like that. And so yeah, so that's how that works. But I tell you, I mean, the Seasons mod, I know I've talked about it so much, and I've said how great it is and everything, and it really truly is, because it really gives us something to think about, something to do. You know, I was watching, I mean, I watch a number of different YouTube folks that are doing farm sim videos, and sometimes I just, you know, I find someone new and I will start watching a few of their videos, and if I like what they do, then I'll watch more, and if I don't, then, you know, I move on. But, you know, when I watch some of the guys that are playing maps without Seasons mod, you know, it's somewhat boring to me to watch those, only simply because I've realized that it's somewhat boring to play maps without the Seasons mod. Because if you can start a map up on, you know, day one, if you will, and you've got harvestable crops ready to go, and depending on how you have your growth cycle set up, whether it's slow, normal, or fast, or whatever the case is, you know, you got stuff to harvest, and then, you know, you harvest that field, and then you get ready, you plow it, and you cultivate it, and you seed it, and, you know, and then you sort of rinse and repeat, and there's no definition of seasons, and there's no effect on your wool production. There's no effect on what your animals will eat or won't eat, and there's no, you know, you don't have to do a lot of thought in that. It's not as exciting. It's not as interesting without the Seasons mod. So the Seasons mod, you know, and I can't wait to get soil mod. I mean, I think when soil mod and Seasons mod are both in the game, not in beta, you know, fully released for all of you guys to enjoy. For those of you that want that level of immersion, that's going to be just really cool, I think. And I am anxiously awaiting to hear more about soil mod and what, you know, how far that may be away from actually getting access to it and being able to you know, go back to that level of farming. Because I think when you take, you know, based on my knowledge of soil mod for Farm Sim 15, when you apply that to the Seasons mod and the way that Seasons works, and I guess it's kind of cool that, you know, Seasons came out first, because then you can kind of get an experience, a level of experience as to how, you know, Seasons affects things. And then by the time soil mod comes out for Farm Sim 17, you know, we'll know everything that we need to know about Seasons mod, and then you're starting to factor in, you know, soil moisture levels, and my tank's almost full here, and I can't get the rest of that empty. Oh well. Let me just teleport up here and grab this guy. So this field's pretty good yield off of it. I've pulled in one trailer load. This one will probably fill this trailer up, so that'll make two and a bit, I would suppose. Now, unfortunately, you know, seasons still, there's no news on when an updated version of Seasons will come out. This one is probably the one that most of us are using, and I think that you know, those of us like Landy Kid, Reefy 1952, myself, I think that maybe Simulates using Seasons mod. I think we're all on the same version. I'm pretty sure we are, and of course, this has no effect on, well, one-time fertilization is all that is required for this version of Seasons, because it doesn't use or doesn't recognize anything over one-time fertilizing. So I've got fertilizing set to just one time as a result of that, because again, there's no, you know, if the mod doesn't put to use the fertilizer is what I'm trying to say. If the mod doesn't use it, then yeah, I mean, I could simulate it. I could go ahead and apply it, but it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna do any good. It's just at this point, it's gonna cost us money, and we're not going to get the benefit of the work, because we're not going to get that full 90% extra yield from that. All right, well, we are actually at about 32 minutes, and so I still want to try to keep these episodes shorter, because I believe that fits most everyone's viewing schedules. And most likely what I will do when we come back for the next episode is go ahead and bale this straw up, or at least I think I will bale the straw up on the next episode. I want to, you know, we're at that point where obviously this is the last day of summer. You know, tomorrow's the first day of fall. Harvest, you know, officially begins. So I don't know how many episodes I will actually do from each game day. I think the previous game day was quite long with a lot of episodes, because we were, you know, sort of after Colborough Park Farm broke. I made the decision to do animals on this map, and so obviously I needed to do the mowing and the baling and all that stuff to prep for the dairy cows, and I think that was a wise decision to do all of that, and get those guys squared away. So we did that, and but really, you know, we're sort of at that point to where that, as far as this game day is concerned, I will probably harvest another field, and that may be it for this game day, and then we're going to go officially into fall, and we're going to have variable things that we can do. We can obviously do some seeding for winter crops, and then obviously still harvest, and just still, you know, prep things for get everything ready for winter and whatnot. Probably sell some stuff as well. So I'm just, you know, trying to keep it from becoming too boring for you guys. But you know, this is an agricultural based simulation game. It's not, you know, it is what it is, and I think that people that watch these channels, watch my channel or watch anyone else's channel that's doing FS17, then obviously you guys love the game as well, and so you understand, you know, you understand that especially in the season that we're heading into, it's going to be dominated by harvesting. And so just like the previous episodes, we had to dominate that by cutting some grass and getting that ready for hay and silage and stuff for our dairy cows. Now, I do plan to mow that that pasture one more time, the hayfield one more time, but I will do that off camera. I will either do that off camera or I will live stream that, and that way it doesn't increase the length of the series. But I just want to make sure that I have plenty of hay and silage going into winter, and then of course you've got to sort of plan for spring, because obviously it's going to be a while before the grass is going to be available to mow again and all that good stuff. So I will go ahead and start wrapping up and just say thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you tuning in each and every episode, and I hope that the new release schedule is working out for you. I'm going to try to put out as many videos as consistently as possible, but understand that I do have some commitments with work, some travel, and just family stuff. You know, I can't just put the wife on the back burner, because, well, then I'll end up in the doghouse, and I don't have a gaming computer in the doghouse, and so we'll both lose on that end of the deal, trust me. So thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, please check out PCSG, please check out the Three Dudes Gaming Network, and please tell your friends about Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.